Keep me honest with this video because that's the type of tag where I start to ramble and I really don't want to do that today. Hey everyone, Feeny here from Freedom Reads. Today with the mid-year book Freakout tag for 2024. I'm so excited to talk about this because this year has been kind of interesting. I've only had 5-star reads so far. What is going on? Am I reading the wrong books? What? Well, we'll find out. Let's dive right in with the question of what is your best book for 2024 so far? And that has to be Rouge by Mona Awards, which I read way back in January. It was actually a butter read with a friend of mine, and it's a crazy good like horror psychological thriller. Mona Award actually is becoming a favorite author of mine. I really loved her bunny book and I want to read a bunch of more by her. Rouge is about a woman whose mother just passed and she is moving to California, I think. Well, crazy things happen in California, I can tell you. I live here, that's very true. And she's taking over the house and her life and is realizing something is off here. Her mother has been weird before she passed away and she is trying to unravel what has happened there. Very mysterious things. It has some horror, supernatural elements to that. And I mean, her writing is just beautiful, it's imaginative, it is just crazy out of your mind type of stuff. I loved every second, every word of it. The next question is your best sequel so far in 2024, and that has to be The Secret of the Thistle, which is book 2 in the Rainfall Saga series trilogy. I don't know, an Arthurian inspired post-apocalyptic fantasy, which I love saying because it just sounds so much fun and it really is. Book 2 definitely is my favorite in this series by far. The writing is incredible. I really love the story in particular in this one and where the book was going. I like the depth that we got on some of the elements that we started to see in book 1, and I really like the character growth in this one. It actually didn't take me long to read it at all, and I kind of like just ate it up and it was fantastic. Question number 3 is a new release you haven't read yet but want to. I actually just made a video about that, like fantasy series that I can finally continue. I link that wherever, description left, right, where I talk about a couple of these. The one series that I definitely want to finish sooner rather than later is the Between Earth and Sky series by Rebecca Roanhorse. Book 3, Mirrored Havens, just came out and I already have it here. I read book 1 and 2 just recently in preparation. So I reread actually book 1, read book 2 new, which was and now I'm really excited to get into book 3 to see that, I really hope that it finishes out amazingly because book 1 was just fantastic, like all the stars out there. Number 4, most anticipated release for the rest of the year. And if you've watched a couple of mid-year Freakout texts in the fantasy booktuber world, there will be one book that everybody mentions, and that's not the book I will mention here because I haven't even read The Cosmere yet. I know, how can I call myself a fantasy booktuber if I've never even read The Cosmere? Maybe that's the project for next year. But anyway, this is not the book here. I'm actually the most excited about the Gunmetal Gods book number 4, which is Dark Drinker by Zamil Akhtar, one of the most incredible grim dark horror fantasy Lovecraftian inspired Arabian Middle Eastern inspired fantasy indie published books, like all the keywords here. Ever. I love the Gunmetal God saga. I will reread book 1 till 3 again in preparation for book 4. I will actually start shortly with that. There is not a specific release date as far as I know quite yet, but it will be this year. I know he just started the beta part of his editing process and I cannot wait. Question number 5, my biggest disappointment this year, that has to be Ellie, is it Ellie or Ellie? I'm not sure. Hazelwood's Bride, which is her first fantasy book. She usually writes romance, very specific with women in STEM. And I have to say, I think I'm kind of a little bit over Ellie Hazelwood because it's always the same in her romance book. And then her fantasy was just cringy. I don't even know what to say. It had all the right elements of urban fantasy, vampires and werewolves and clashes between races and whatnot. But It was just cringy. I did not like it at all. Biggest surprise of the year, that was definitely the Eric Carter series for me. I just recently read book 1 till 5. This series is so much more than I thought. Like, I had book 1 on my TBR for a while. I actually have the mass market paperback here that was gifted to me by the amazing Twainy. And I finally read it and I was blown away. This is such a great urban fantasy series that goes so much deeper than I thought it would. It has fantastic cultural themes, but it also uses all of the cultural inspiration that this area is known for in the books and translates them very, very well and uses them as part of the world building and the magic system and all those kind of things. And I really like that beat up main character. I kind of have a soft spot for him. Favorite new author for you, a debut author or just a new author to you? That is, if we can count new author after reading one book, that would be Oliver K. Langmead. I read Birds of Paradise by him and I was blown away. Totally underrated urban fantasy book. His writing is very different. So the Birds of Paradise is kind of a biblical inspired story. It's not religious by any means, but it uses the theme of Adam and Eve and paradise and, you know, that whole thing as the theme for the story, but set in today's world. And it was done so incredibly well, and the writing style had just that something where I was sitting there and it's like, whoa, this is actually really cool. But that's the only book I've read by him. He just came out with Calypso, which is a sci-fi but written in verse. So I'm really curious. I don't read verse or poems or anything like that, but this is a sci-fi novella, so it's close to 200 pages, all written in verse. So I'm really curious about that one. So just in case this doesn't count, another new favorite author of mine where I've read multiple books now from is Lynn Painter, which is a romance author. I read Mr. Wrong Number last year, and this year I read The Love Wager and Accidentally Amy, and I loved them. We're skipping the next question, which is newest fictional crush, because I don't even know if I have such a thing anymore, but we are focusing on new favorite character with it, which is question number 9. That has to be Ganos Paran from Malazan. I think I really like him. So Malazan is something that I started last year, I think. I'm at book 4 right now, and I have my struggles with it. It's so dense and so boring at times, but there are elements in there that I really, really enjoy, characters being one of them, and in particular Ganos Paran. I liked his story arc and like where he came from and how he grew into the role that he then had to take and his reluctance in the last step of it. His storyline I really enjoyed and I really loved, and I think he did just such a great job in adjusting to everything that was thrown at him. And yeah, so he has to be my new favorite character. Books that made you cry is question number 10. I barely cry, but I got emotional. I never cry. I'm a rock. Like, I don't have emotions. No, that's not the case. But so far, I only had 2 books in my life that made me cry. Not one this year, but the book that made me really emotional this year is The Four Profound Weaves by R.B. Lemberg, which is a more literary leaning fantasy. It's not really literary, although the prose is not as straightforward, but it's not super purpley either. So it's kind of like balanced between the two. Anyway, I talked about this in my review just recently because I think it's a really fun story. I love the magic system. I love the main characters. Great writing, great read. Check out the review. Books that made you happy, on the other hand. I think I have to put the Finlay Donovan series into this one. I've read book 2 and 3 and the novella, which is 3.5 this year. Book 4 is in front of me as we speak, and it's probably the next book that I'm going to read. But they're just fun. This is about a recently divorced mother that just tries to get her life back together. It's in shambles. She has 2 young kids. The ex is a douchebag. I can't say that differently. And she's just trying to figure things out. She's an author and she stumbles into a situation where someone mistakes her for contract killer and asks her to kill her husband. And that's kind of how everything starts in book 1. And then with every book, like, she stumbles from one ridiculous situation into the next. And it's just funny. It's quirky, feisty characters, like great sidekicks, like perfect. Question number 12 is most beautiful book you've bought so far or that you received. And that has to be the books that I won in a recent The Broken Binding giveaway, which I want to say I never win, but I clearly can't say that anymore because I just won 4 books in this giveaway. It's the novella with a prequel novella that is like super chunky, Priory of the Orange Tree and A Day in the Light. And then the other 2 were The Bone Season and The Mime Order that just got to republish because she is redoing or rewriting or re-editing that series. That is a series that I also wanted to start for a while now, but I'm always hesitant to start a series when they're not fully finished yet. But anyway, now I own this beautiful editions, and I'm always blown away on how ridiculously well those Broken Binding books are done. Okay, and the last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? The one that I really, really want to continue is Malazan Book 5 and ideally even Book 6 this year, because I want to push through the series. It's one of those, if I do not force myself to read it, I will never continue. Because it's so dense, really, it takes me forever to read them. And then I'm sitting here like, well, they have been solid 3-star reads for me so far. Don't hate me, okay? It might get better as it goes further. I don't know. Malazan has still a lot of things that I really, really enjoy. I know book 5 I will really struggle with because the character it is about I do not enjoy at all, and I find him incredibly boring. And ideally book 6 still this year. So if I can do that, that would be great, because then I'm over halfway through and then I just have 4 books left for next year and then I'm done with Malazan. And I really, really hope that this ending of the series is the mind-blowingest thing ever. Anyway, so yeah, that's where I'm at. Alrighty, link your mid-year book freakout tags if you filmed them down below. Put your answers down below. I think it's so fun always to check in where you are, like halfway through the year, where you are with reading, to see, are you closer to your goals? Where are you going with this? Has this year been good? Do you need to change anything for the rest of the year with your reading? I think it's just a good, level set type thing to do. So if you want to see what I'm reading for the rest of the year and with other books like tickle my fancy for the rest of the year, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And then I hope I will see you soon with my next video. Till then, have a great rest of your day. Bye!